Once upon a time, in a lush African village nestled between mountains and rivers, there was a wealthy merchant named Kofi. Kofi had grown up in a modest family but had become one of the wealthiest men in the region through trade. He was known for his luxurious tastes, his grand feasts, and his immense wealth, which he flaunted to all who cared to look. His estate sprawled over the hillside, filled with treasures from every corner of the world, ivory from the coasts, gold from deep within the mines, spices, and silks from distant lands. But despite all his wealth, Kofi was often a lonely man. Though respected and admired, he rarely showed kindness to others, believing that life was a game of who could acquire the most riches. To Kofi, money was everything, love, family, and friendship were secondary. His friends were wealthy merchants and noblemen who, like him, valued riches above all else. These men would often gather at Kofi's estate to indulge in luxurious feasts, drink the finest wines, and boast about their achievements. One balmy evening, as they sat under the stars drinking wine and boasting about their wealth, one of Kofi's longtime friends and rivals, Kwame, threw a challenge that would change Kofi's life forever. Kwame was known for his quick wit and sharp tongue, and this evening, he was in rare form. Kofi, Kwame began with a smirk, tell us, is there anything your wealth cannot buy? Kofi, always confident and a little arrogant, raised his goblet, the jewels on his fingers glinting in the firelight. Money can buy anything, Kwame. Anything and anyone, he replied smugly, his voice full of conviction. The group laughed, but Kwame wasn't satisfied. And what about love, Kofi? Can your wealth buy love? Kofi scoffed. Love. Love is nothing more than a feeling, a fleeting emotion. It can be bought as easily as a fine silk or a bottle of wine. Give a woman riches and she will love you for them. There's no heart that cannot be won with enough gold. Kwame's eyes gleamed mischievously, and he leaned forward. Very well, Kofi. Let us put this to the test. I dare you to marry the woman of my choosing and prove that your wealth can indeed win her love. Kofi laughed, finding the idea amusing. And who might this woman be? He asked, his voice full of confidence. Kwame grinned, glancing around at their audience. Oma. The name hung in the air, and a murmur spread through the group. Oma was a well-known woman in the village, a woman of large build and a hearty laugh that rang out in the fields. She was strong and kind, respected by all, but not considered traditionally beautiful by society standards. She had thick, dark hair, warm eyes that twinkled with kindness, and a smile that could warm the coldest of hearts. Yet, no one had ever looked at her with romantic interest. Many thought her too large, too loud, and too simple for a man of Kofi's stature. Kofi's face twitched in surprise, but he quickly regained his composure. He didn't want to back down, not in front of his friends. Very well, he said, his voice steady. I will marry Oma, and within a year, she will love me beyond doubt. I will prove that wealth and charm can win any heart. The men laughed, some in disbelief, others out of admiration for Kofi's audacity. They clapped him on the back, raising their goblets in a toast to his confidence. But deep down, Kwame was curious. He had always believed there was more to life than riches, and he wondered if perhaps this bet would teach Kofi something about the value of love. The next morning, Kofi prepared himself for his journey to Oma's home. He dressed in his finest robes, adorned himself with gold jewelry, and carried a bouquet of rare flowers from the northern mountains. He knew that Oma was a proud woman, so he approached her with respect but with the assurance that no woman could resist his charm. He found Oma outside her modest home, grinding millet in a large mortar, her strong arms moving rhythmically as she worked. Her dark skin glistened in the sunlight, and her face was serene, her eyes focused on her task. Kofi cleared his throat, and Oma looked up, startled to see the wealthy merchant standing before her, dressed like royalty. Oma, he said with a practiced smile, holding out the bouquet, I have come to ask for your hand in marriage. Oma looked at him in disbelief. She let out a hearty laugh, wiping her hands on her skirt. Kofi, are you serious? She asked, her eyes twinkling with amusement. You, who could have anyone in the land, wish to marry me? Indeed, Kofi replied smoothly, a confident smile on his face. For I have seen that there is no woman in this village as honest, strong, and diligent as you. Marry me, Oma, and I promise you a life of comfort, of wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Oma's laughter faded, and she looked at him thoughtfully. She was no fool. She knew of Kofi's pride, his wealth, and his love for money. But she also knew that he was a man who had likely never been truly loved. She saw a glimmer of loneliness behind his confident exterior, and a part of her was curious. Perhaps, she thought, this could be an opportunity to teach him the true meaning of love. If you are truly sincere, Kofi, she said finally, then I accept. But know this, I am not a woman to be bought with gifts. If you wish to win my heart, you must do so with actions, not words. Kofi was taken aback by her words, but he quickly recovered, his confidence unshaken. Of course, Oma. You will see soon enough that I am a man of my word. The wedding took place in the village square, a grand affair that drew people from all over. Kofi spared no expense, bringing in musicians, dancers, and food from distant lands. Oma, dressed in a simple but beautiful traditional gown, stood beside him with a calm expression, her eyes twinkling with quiet amusement as she observed the lavish display around her. As they stood together, many in the crowd murmured and whispered, wondering why Kofi had chosen Oma. Some looked at her with pity, believing that Kofi's intentions were anything but genuine. But Oma took it all in stride. She was proud and unbothered by their opinions, choosing instead to focus on her new role as Kofi's wife. Kofi, on the other hand, was determined to win Oma's love through his wealth. He showered her with gifts, jewelry, and luxurious clothes, hoping that she would be overwhelmed by his generosity and come to depend on him. He invited his wealthy friends to his home, proudly showing Oma off as if she were a prized possession, expecting her to be grateful for the life he had given her. But Oma was not impressed by his riches. She thanked him politely for his gifts but often gave them away to the village children, who needed them more than she did. She continued to cook simple meals, rejecting the expensive dishes that Kofi ordered from distant cities, and instead invited the village women to join her, creating a warm and lively atmosphere in their home. Days turned to weeks, and Kofi found himself increasingly frustrated. No matter how much he tried, Oma's heart seemed impervious to his wealth and charm. He couldn't understand why she wasn't falling for him as he had expected. One evening, he confronted her, his voice laced with irritation. Oma, he said, I have given you all that a woman could desire. Why do you not show me the affection I deserve? Oma looked at him thoughtfully, her gaze steady. Kofi, she replied, true love is not something that can be bought with gifts or wealth. If you wish to win my heart, you must show me the man behind all this gold. You must be genuine. Kofi was taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him like this. For the first time in his life, he was left without words. In the days that followed, Kofi began to see Oma in a new light. He observed her warmth, her kindness, and her unwavering integrity. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and he found himself drawn to her laughter, her stories, and the simple joy she found in everyday life. Instead of trying to impress her, he began to spend time with her, listening to her tales of the village, learning about her dreams and her hopes. Oma spoke passionately about the beauty of nature, the importance of community, and the joy of giving to others. Her laugh was hearty and infectious, filling the house with warmth. As Kofi listened, he felt something inside him shift. He began to laugh with her, a warmth spreading through him that he hadn't felt in years. In Oma's presence, he felt more like himself, not a wealthy merchant, but simply a man. One evening, as they sat together under the shade of a baobab tree, Oma looked at him with a gentle smile. Kofi, do you know why I married you? She asked. He shook his head, feeling a strange flutter of anxiety. No, Oma. Tell me. She looked at him thoughtfully, her gaze soft. I married you because I saw a man who needed to be loved, not for his wealth, but for who he truly is. I wanted to show you that love is not something to be bought, but something to be earned through kindness, understanding, and patience. Kofi felt his heart clench. For the first time in his life, he understood the depth of her words. He realized that Oma had shown him a world beyond wealth and possessions, a world of love, compassion, and connection. In the months that followed, Kofi and Oma grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. Kofi became a changed man, his heart softened by Oma's love and kindness. He became generous, helping the villagers, sharing his wealth, and becoming a beloved figure in the community. Their love became legendary, a story told for generations. And though Kofi had once thought that wealth could buy anything, he now understood that true love was the most precious gift of all, one that no amount of gold could ever purchase. And so, in the end, Kofi won the greatest prize of all, a love that transformed him and gave his life meaning.